How do I that's how you respond. I'm doing a test transmission, so pardon me, this is my first time trying to figure this thing all out. I wonder, invite guests. There we go. There we go. Okay. Great on me to see how cool covers good. Okay, so now how do I take off the the chat? Okay, that's how you do it. All right. Um, oh, there should be a way to. Cool. I don't know how to take this thing off my screen. The comments. All right. There we go. I have to click on it again to let it go. Okay, it looks like you can hear me loud and clear. That is awesome. Um, if I do this. Okay, so this is where I can share my screen. Let's see. Uh, Give me a second. Let's see how I can share. I do that. Oops, what happened? Okay, do that. Let's switch over. And I can share my screen here. When I share my screen, what do we have? So you add the screen there, and that is how it works. Okay. Okay, this is how. And then it's gone. Alrighty. Well, this looks good. I can. Okay. Well, I guess it works. So we're ready to do private chat. David, how you doing, sir? Looks like you muted.
Yeah, Mr. Akwetey. with the beard and the glasses, man. I feel like I have to put a Mr. in front of it. What's going on?
We're going to really look at the text. Make sure that nothing escapes.
Let's go. You got to put the magnifying glass on.
I have to. Actually, I have two. So if I can see with these ones, I'll change to these ones.
It's not the glasses I'm concerned about, man. It's that magic pen you have that make the text say whatever you want it to say.
I know, right?
It's that magic pen that you got, bro. Oh, man. One second.
All right.
So you just start, you're going to actually have people on right now, or?
No, so this is the test transmission for next week when we start our Sunday morning stuff. So yes, I think
keep that consistent.
Say it again, sorry.
You're gonna keep that consistent the Sunday
every
morning?
Sunday morning.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah, so I think Cynthia's going to be on. Jason is going to be on as well.
Nice. They're coming on now, or this is Sunday's going forward?
Sunday is going forward, starting next week. Yeah, today I'm just trying to figure out which software we're going to use. And then roll.
No. Yeah, they're in grown up. Hold on one second, sir. I'm sorry.
Right,
yeah, they're older. Like, we don't go to Kids Foot Locker anymore. We can't go in a Kids Foot Locker.
So it could be size
7. Yeah.
7.5.
And King is right on his heel too. So yeah, we don't. You're dealing with teenage boys now, man. Not the size of teenage boys, right? Yeah, they're, man. The minute you turn around, they're double in size, man. I'll be back. All right. All right. Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. So yeah, it looks like I can share my screen and all of that stuff. So
I mean, Video.io, Vid.io. What app is this?
Yeah, Read Live. It's web based.
How is it better than a Zoom? Or what's its
It's got a lot
advantage
of
over a
features.
Zoom?
I think it's got a lot of better features.
Is there a time limit on the meetings?
Negative.
Oh, okay.
Layouts. There we go. I have to do 2 layouts this way, and then if as well.
Where's your shoes? I'm not carrying your shoes, bro. Go get your shoes.
See layout.
Hold on, I think the door here. You might need the keys.
There we go.
King, open the door. What? Open the car door. I'm not throwing it to you. Come on. Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
They came up for the weekend. They're on spring break, so they came up.
Okay.
Yeah, they came.
Oh, that's good.
Open the door. But they're gonna go. They're going driving up to Canada. I think sometime next week, though.
Well, it's nice out, so.
Yeah.
Got some Hebrews in Canada.
They all over the place, man. Hi.
Hey, yo, King, how you doing, sir?
Good.
Awesome. You're on YouTube Live, you know that.
You're live.
Huh?
You're live. This is live on. This is streaming on YouTube.
Yeah, and Facebook.
Yeah, so this works fine, man. You screen share. Have you played an audio from the screen to make sure that the sound and everything goes through clear?
I haven't played the audio yet or video, but I will try that.
So if I go on YouTube right now, it will. This is showing. Hold on. It's showing up on your page, yeah?
Yeah, it is. I'm watching on my phone. So let's see if I go here. I would get it. Good morning, Madame Isabel. Good morning to you as well. Doing a test transmission here. Doing the test transmission, seeing how all this works for our Sunday morning lives starting next week. We have some really interesting topics to cover. So everybody seems to be excited. So just making sure everything works. There you go.
You tested the audio like playing audio while the screen share?
Yeah, I'm uploading a video right now to
You
Okay,
already
let's see.
accumulated the audience, man.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen next week? You may get some shots fired at you. Where is my stuff here? Why can't I see? Okay. There we go. Okay, so it's broadcasted live on.
Yeah, it just popped up on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay, yeah. So it's testing that one. That seems to be going okay as well.
Turn that down, bro. You didn't see him on the phone. Close your door.
Okay, yeah. So I see it on Facebook as well. On Facebook.
Yeah.
So
The video
it
side
looks
of it is cool. It's just the audio from a screen share. You just want to confirm that works.
correct. Yes. So uploading something here,
Yeah.
and then you have to be ready for next week because you go to.
I'll be, bro. Just let me know the time, and I'll make sure I'm well prepared.
So again, sorry.
Just let me know time and place. I'll be well prepared. I'll be here next week.
Okay, cool.
I've been dying for you. I've been asking you to get this going, man. Yeah.
Yeah. See whether I can fit
Bro,
at
I know
least
you like the merch, right?
an hour. Oh yeah, shout out to Zion Lex. Go support the brother. That's his match, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Please
sir.
go support the brother. Yeah. Is that all he has?
Always,
Or
always.
he has other stuff.
I don't know. I think he has others, but this is what caught my attention at the time. So
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
Please, let's support our own. Go get some hoodies, t-shirts.
Oh, you remember the flip flops? He got the flip flops too.
Oh yeah, the one is true. Yeah, go
Yeah.
support. Somebody is here. I don't know who Chuck is. Add Chuck to this stream. Oh. Awesome. Well, that's cool. Looks like everything is working. Let's see whether the video is.
I'm excited about this, man, especially with the consistency.
Yeah.
And if we open up a timed Q&A section too as well, that would be beautiful. I have a question too, though. How would it work in terms of a presentation? Would you allow the audience to pop in on a video, or they will strictly have just the text side of it?
Everything.
Oh yeah, so like how we are.
Yeah, just how we communicate back and forth. We argue. We disagree. We throw shots.
So the audience will have an option to sign in on video IO and have the same interaction that we're having right now.
Yes. So if somebody wants to maybe join the conversation, I'll just send them the link. I can put the link in the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you come
All
on the
right,
stage and then you tell us what you think. Maybe you have a different perspective. I don't shy away from anyone's perspective. I just want to listen what you got, and then we'll agree or disagree.
Oh,
just
bro,
like
this is monster.
on this thing. that chat thing that we used to hang out on.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if it was something like that. Like was
Yep.
that Clubhouse?
Clubhouse, correct. So like
Oh, so
Sunday,
it's
we're going to look at a 3,000-year-old cold case that we need to resolve because I don't
let's
agree with the
go.
conclusions. I don't care who's writing. I don't care if you
Bruh.
mention Yahweh's name. I don't care. It doesn't make sense. Let's figure it out.
This is gonna be interesting.
Correct. So with that, we'll start.
Make sure you guys tune in, man. Make sure you guys tune in. The first show is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be fireworks. I guarantee you guys don't want to miss this. Tune in. Believe me.
So yeah, we'll start with the narrative, and then I think you're going to be on the stage. Cynthia's going to be on the stage. Jason's going to be on the stage, and then we say, "Hey, dude, I have
I'm with it. I'm with it.
And then we go at it. Yeah. So
I'm with it, bro.
We starting with that to investigate the whole David, his background, all of that stuff. NSJ. Oh, it's NSJ. Okay, cool.
Let's go.
I just had to change my name from Chuck to NSJ so you guys would know.
Oh, okay. NSJ, is your camera on or it's off? I want to know how it looks like when, let's say, 3 or 4 people come in.
No, mine is off.
It's off. Okay, cool.
Is there a limit to how many people could come in on stage, or?
I doubt it.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's just going to rearrange the screen.
Oh, okay, okay. But you have complete mute control on your side as well, too. Like, if too many people is in the room and it gets crazy at some point, you have the ability to quiet it down, though, yeah?
Yes.
All right, because you're going to be touching on a lot of nerves, man.
I guess this time I'm known for that.
Hey, right? You've been out long enough, man. They know that when they see you coming, they know what time it is.
So
everybody go grab your receipts.
I know. Yesterday I was driving home and I got a call, and this guy, he's like, I've been watching everything you've been putting out there. I can't dispute anything. But I have a question. And then he said, a historical one. I'm like, you've been watching long enough, because you know the next question. You want a religious answer or a theological one or a historical one?
Yeah, he knows the approach. That is funny.
Laughing. He's like, I have a question, a historical one. I'm like,
That is too funny. They're categorizing the questions now. That's funny, man.
Correct. Because I'm going to ask.
But honestly, nope.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying it's difficult to listen to that religious thing when after you hear the historical side of it, man. It's because we've been hearing religion all our lives, and not only have we been hearing it, we've been told that the religion is historical. So to be informed that there's a difference between the two is wild. It's gonna be wild for some people, because I would say at least 70 to 80% of them accepts the Bible as historical, provable truth, every word in it. So this is gonna be a huge paradigm shift, man. Huge.
Yeah.
And I hope they know how to separate the two. Hey.
So now I'm trying to figure out how to chat. I'm trying to bring Israel Young Lion on.
Right.
And I have to figure out how to send him the link. Okay.
They would have to get you an email, no? You have to do it via email, no? Or you could, yeah. There's no other way to do it.
No other way to do it. Let me go on YouTube and see whether I can.
Because if
saw
you
you-
post a link in YouTube, he's not gonna personally get it. I don't think it's gonna go out to the whole chat room. So from whichever platform you're broadcasting from, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, you
Yeah.
could say, you could invite them, like, listen, if you want to get in, throw your email up and we'll send you the link via email, and then from there it would be easy. But I don't know if it's integrated where you could personally send link to an individual, you know? Maybe on Facebook you'd be able to do that because you have
Oh, I
Messenger.
can. Let's see. Oh. Okay. I would have to post. If you're using StreamYard, I can get the link. No, I'm not using StreamYard. I'm using this
Video.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, everything would have to get done.
Okay. I think I can do that. I have to mute it on mute it here. There we go. And then I think I can now. There we go. Alrighty. I think I have it. I can chat. Okay.
You figured it out? You're able to send it through?
So yeah, I put so I can put a link in the chat on YouTube. That would be a public.
But how would you prevent
everybody?
How would you prevent everyone? How would you prevent everyone in the chat room from clicking on it, though?
Correct. So I'll have to send.
Or that's not a concern.
It can be a concern. So pin user hide user manage user. Okay, there should have been a way to. There should have been a way to. There should have been a way to message. Okay, I can go to the person's channel then. Okay, so we got to figure that out.
Yeah, because the platforms aren't integrated. Like, this is not integrated with YouTube or Facebook. That's why I was saying on the Facebook side of it, to send them a personalized link, you could do that through Facebook Messenger. But when you get to YouTube now, there's no way to send it personalized. You'd have to ask them to throw up your email. And then you email them, unless you have another technical way to do it.
Yeah, I'll play with it, but it looks like I'll have to send them the link. Okay, looks like it's working.
He got in?
No, not yet. So it's a little delayed. I think it's about 60 seconds delay.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah. So it's like if you broadcast.
Oh, you mean between here and on YouTube?
And on YouTube, correct.
Same delay on Facebook as well, or no?
Same delay on Facebook as well.
Okay.
Okay. Did you see the comments on YouTube when the person said, he said, what kind of title is this? Bob versus Yute Babe.
Nah, I didn't sit. Don't ruin it for me though. I didn't sit down on the YouTubes yet. Don't ruin it for me though. I like to watch it with my popcorn and everything, man. Like, that's a whole event for me. Yo, just watching other people's reaction, bro. I'm telling you, you're moving a pillar that's not supposed to be moved. Or we're told that it's not supposed to be moved. But,
Correct.
bruh, I don't know. You're doing something in the community that nobody's ever done before. So you will. Just watching the reaction to me is amazing, you know, because I know what I felt like when I first heard it. So it's like, what?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I get off on. I love just watching and listening to the reaction, man. It's interesting. It's always interesting, and the comments or the arguments on the other side. But so far, the arguments have been weak, man. It's all been theoretical or
I
theology, I
mean,
should say.
yes, because people are programmed to not ask the hard questions. And then if you ask the hard questions, automatically you labeled as challenging the text. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
label, hey, are you
You're
not
an
lying
antichrist.
with Kemet? or, or the Sumerians? I'm like,
You can't call
nah,
yourself a Hebrew and question the text, man. That's the message that's being sent out.
correct.
Yeah. Mhm. Hey, here we go.
Here
What's
you
going
go.
on? What's going on?
What's
Shalom.
going on, brother? Shalom. Shalom to you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, man. I just want to
Awesome.
give
Awesome.
you, what I'm saying, your flowers, Rabbi,
Oh boy.
because
Thank you.
these are I think these conversations are very much needed because I'm a young
Talk
man.
about it.
I'm a young man that's doing my research. I've been studying, the Bible for about like seriously, like for about like close to 5 years now. And
Talk.
I came into this truth when I was around like 19 years old.
Talk.
So like asking the right questions and studying like really deeply instead of like doing the dogma is really needed because I've done the camp stuff. I've done these groups and all that, but like
It's empty.
you got to challenge, like where are we really going with this stuff, and I don't, me personally, I don't just, I don't accept anything that, somebody just tells me. I'll go out and do the research myself and reading the biblical text, in the literal sense is not the right approach. And going going to going through like reading the text and all that, there's certain nuggets in there that tells you, where the Israelites are getting this from. You know what I'm saying? And I started to do the research, dig like deep, do some deep searching and digging and stuff. And to
There's
my
questions out there, man.
right, it's a my, like, seeing the research that I came up with, and the what led me to uh the answers that I found was that the Israelites were just descendants of Amorites. You know what I'm saying? They just Canaanites. And then I stumbled upon, the rabbi's channel, and I was just like, wait, let me check this out, man. And then
That's monster. That's
right,
monster that you were able to come to that conclusion without him, because that means that you're not solely eating up what these camp leaders or what these camps are teaching. So that's a huge step. And I wasn't able to do that. So the fact that you were able to see through that and come to that conclusion without anyone directing you, that's monster right there. And I salute you for that.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, that's big, bro. That's big. Little things like that can make a huge difference once you put it in its proper context. I wasn't able to. Whatever the camps was teaching, whatever my parents taught, I just swallowed it up, accepted as truth, and just kept it moving. But the fact that you were able to decipher between the two, man, my hat's off to you on that, for sure.
I appreciate that, man, because you know what I'm saying, I'm someone that like that loves history. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to our people, I want to know where like our history. I want us telling our own story and not some other outsider, you know what I'm saying, telling our story. Because you can see what they're doing with our text. They're making money off our text. They're having all these as you can see, the political stuff with the land and all that stuff. And
All
you
right.
know, it's time that we need to start taking back our own narrative. And what the rabbi is doing, you know what I'm saying, he's kind of like sort of bridging that gap by bringing out the real facts in the text. And he's brought out stuff I've never heard of before. I'm just like, damn,
Talk about it.
he deep. You know what I'm saying? And
I call
go ahead,
I
bro.
call bro the missing link all the time, man. I call him
Yeah,
the missing link all the time. But all I have to say is you're in the right place and buckle up, bro. Because what you about to get into, I don't know if you quite co-signed for it, but buckle up.
I mean, hey, I listen. I'm not against you know the truth and the information. Like what I've learned, I'm not. Before when I first heard it, I was just like, and then I was just like, you know what? I accept it because it makes sense. It
And
makes
the receipts. Yep.
exactly. It makes sense. You know, when you compare the text
Come on.
to history, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't add up. So
Right.
what forces me to challenge myself is, all right, if I can't look at this in the historical sense, this must come from an allegorical sense. And then I'm also
Right.
finding out that certain things are also political. So I'm just like, man,
That's the part I like, the politics.
right. So like at this point, I'm not
Fix your
opposed to
clothes, man.
accepting, you know what I'm saying?
Why you sure?
I'm not opposed to accepting the information that's being brought out by you, Rabbi. And you know,
Yeah.
so I appreciate you for that. I accept this as part of my history of part of where I descend from, and I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with it.
We just want the true story, man. We tired of the
Right,
fairy tales. We tired
right.
of your interpretation, your translation. We just want the hard facts, bro.
Exactly the cold truth. Because
Yes, the
you
provable
know
facts.
when I have dialogue with certain brothers that I know that's you know in this walk too, and they take the text you know literal. So like when I explain the stuff that we're discussing, you know what I'm saying, how Hebrew is just a Canaanite language, it's just a dialect, you know what I'm saying, it's nothing that you know that's mystical and magical that came out of the sky, you know what I'm saying, it's just a dialect of all these other it's just a different dialect of the same language from different related people groups. I told
Right.
brothers that, you know what I'm saying, the Israelites, the Canaan, not the Canaanites, the Israelites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, they're all Canaanites because they're living in that land of Canaan.
Style,
You know
bro.
what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Make yourself.
the text also proves it. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm learning about these different gods, these different kids that's in the text. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I've gotten backlash. I was called,
Oh.
you know what I'm saying, all of it, man. All the hate, the same type of hate I see you getting in the comments, Rabbi.
The
I'm getting it too,
comment.
man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I've had the backlash for so long, so long. I remember, you know, right after college days when I started teaching, I was teaching purely historical, you know, like purely historical. But then it was kind of difficult for my audience because they were not there yet. No, they're coming out of the church. Everything they know is what was said from the pulpit.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, no problem. You will notice that when someone asks me a question, I would ask, do you want a religious answer, a theological answer, or a historical answer? Because you will get three different answers based on where you are standing.
Right.
So I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's take the theological religious approach. demonstrate that, yes, this is how, even if you want to go that route, this is how you should teach the text. The text should make sense. Okay. So, the huge following when I was doing the theological and the religious aspect of the text, huge following. The moment I switched to the historical, oh boy.
It's
so much dogma, my views and then my following just went downhill. And I'm like, that's what I want, you know? I want to do the historical. I want to present the facts. These are the facts on the ground. We need to deal with it if we're going to have like conversations that we're having right now. Okay. You tell me that Isaac gave birth to twins, Jacob and Esau. And I ask you, what is your historical evidence for that? Well, you don't have any. The text just says it. And then I come and say, okay, this is why the text says they are twins. It's all political. And I demonstrate it and I show you the receipts. Ah, you are antichrist.
it's just the facts, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate the information that you're bringing out. And it's not bad, you know what I'm saying, that you're going at it from a historical sense. Because say with me, like, I question these people that are saying that I'm X, Y, and Z, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's fine, but if you believe in certain things, you got to prove it. Even your own text says you got to prove all things. So when I basically was explaining to, you know, certain brothers that I'm close with, you know what I'm saying, they're cool and they were very mature, different from other brothers that, you know what I'm saying, give me backlash. I would have to say, you would have to prove certain things to me. You know what I'm saying? Solomon, I said, me personally, I don't believe Solomon had a kingdom that spanned from the Euphrates River all the way to the entering Egypt. It's not there.
No chance. There's no not real.
There's no evidence of that. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And I'm not saying that Solomon and David don't exist. They obviously did. It's just that the information is very, you know what I'm saying, little. And I said, like, look, I do believe in the spiritual, the theological sense. I do believe in that. But certain things are written for us to, like, you know what I'm saying, see it from a theological sense. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually true, but it's written in a way for us to receive the message that's being portrayed. And I'm okay with that. But certain brothers, they want they want to be, you know what I'm saying, the whole chosen stuff and you know what I'm saying, feel special and, you know, we're closer to the deity. And I'm just like, okay. So when you find out that the deities that we're actually calling upon are just younger deities from older ones, what do you have to say about that now?
True.
No, I don't believe
it's hard.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't believe in it. I don't want to hear it. Look, it's okay. Like, I'm not telling you what to do, but that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Israelites, the proto-Israelites, they never worshipped Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. They never did.
Facts.
You know, he was introduced by, you know what I'm saying, the Kenite tribe. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that backstory in the text, it shows you that it shows you that, you know what I'm saying? And they're just not gonna budge. So who do we worship? I said, look, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh is a desert storm deity, you know what I'm saying? And that was the Yahwehs, you know what I'm saying? They are the ones that redacted the text to make it seem like Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh was the most high and not them.
Correct.
They never, how do you call it? They all the genealogies and all this stuff, all these texts that we have are redacted. And the Yahwehs were the ones that were behind it. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to push their deity. And as you explain in your videos, they're political. So
Yep.
even in the
Well-
text, it tells you that whichever Yahweh wrote it, it tells you when he's supposedly introducing himself to Moses. I never appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as Yod-Heh Wah-Heh. I appeared as El
Right.
Elyon. Now, I see it as the Yahweh's synchronizing El and Yod-Heh Wah-Heh and making them into one God, because that was a common practice. You know,
Correct. Yep.
synchronism is never, you know what I'm saying, is never an old thing. I mean, a new thing.
Correct.
You know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
One
So
deity takes on the attributes of the
Right.
other. It happens all the time. You know,
Exactly.
so that it becomes familiar with the people who are changing, or which deity is supplanting the other one. You know,
Exactly.
Baal supplanting El, all of that stuff. It's the same thing happening.
Right.
And that's the reality. But we've been told, I mean, you open the book of Genesis and you see Yahweh. So, you know, it's like, hey, he was there in the beginning. It's like, no.
Well, not only that, you could just look at the book of Kings, where David comes from the temple, but there was no temple built. But that's not true, because there was always a temple there. That's when they took it over by the Jebusites. So that's a problem with the text right there, right? Because David comes after his first son dies from what's her name? They say he comes back from the temple from praying. Then he sits down and he eats. Okay, what temple? Because there was no temple built by him.
Right.
No. And see that what I don't, let me not say I don't like, what I think is sad is people thinking that you are against the text because you are asking the text to make sense, because you are asking the hard questions. You know, they think, oh, now you're challenging the text, now you don't believe in this, now this, but that is not the case. Like you said, things have to make sense. If I'm telling somebody you were Hebrew and they say, okay, show me the proof. Now I have to show them historical proof. I have to give them data that they can analyze, they can check, and then they can prove. Okay, why are we called Israel when our deity is Yud-Heh Vav-Heh? We're supposed to be called Israel or something. I need answers.
Right.
Who is this L that's attached to our name? Is it the Canaanite, the old chief Ugaritic deity? Is it the one? Okay, the Israelite. Where did they come from? Where's the genesis? You know? And then we get the theological or biblical, I call it biblical answers. You know, you just go straight to the Bible, give me a verse, chapter, this is the answer. I'm like, no, that's that cannot be the answer, because we know this is political. We have so much data, so much research, you know, so much primary evidence to know that, hey, this thing, it's written as propaganda. It's written because a group, maybe a priestly circle or a Yahwist group or an Elohist, is trying to push, you know, their theory or their propaganda on us, and we are checking. You know, like you said, Solomon ruled from where? No, not
Right.
not possible.
It's not possible, because the Assyrians. Now, if somebody told me that they had a vast empire, I would believe it, because the evidence is there.
Is
You know what
there?
I'm saying?
Correct.
All over. But when it comes to Solomon having a vast kingdom, you know what I'm saying, somebody had to wrote about it.
Yeah.
And during that time period, I believe Solomon's projected to be a 10th century figure. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's really nothing coming from that era that says
Nothing in Judah.
Right.
Nothing in Judah.
Exactly. And
you can argue for Jeroboam II in the north, but Judah in the south, no.
It's not there. You know what I'm saying? And it's fine. This now further, you know what I'm saying, challenge us to go deeper and to look at the whole backdrop of the text and how it was written. Like
Yep.
the Abraham, the Abraham, Isaac, Jacob cycles. I can actually read, you know what I'm saying, Hebrew, and never did I see them call on Yod Hey Wah Hey. It just is what it is.
Yes.
Now somebody will say, "Oh, in Genesis 14, Abraham called on Yod Hey Wah Hey." No. If you take that same text from the Septuagint and you
Correct.
translate it into Google Translate,
Yeah.
it's not there. It just says the Most High God. Who's the Most High God in Canaan? El. That's the highest God that I know of. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, okay, this makes sense. So when somebody comes to me and tells me that the Bible is perfect, there's no contradictions, the Masoretic text is superior, and I'm just like, no, I can't. Nope.
Mr. Jason.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. You can see it too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the texts have different writers. So, you know, when you go in, you know, like we discussed in class, you got the priestly writers, you got the Yohevave writers, you got the El writers, you know, you got the redactors. So a lot of people, they think that one person, like Isaiah, you know, you got like 7 different writers in Isaiah, you know, and the thing is, you can't tell because it's in English, but when you go back and you study, if you're a teacher, you know when a student hands you a paper that he or she didn't write that paper, right? So you could tell the same thing because the writing doesn't change, like they're consistent way of writing, and the text is authored the same way. So you have different writers writing their section in the text. You know, and a lot of people don't understand that. They don't know that. They think it's God's word, you know, Yah's word. And it's, you know, and it's you can sit down there and you'd be like, no, it's not really, you know.
Yeah, but it is God's word, right? But the thing is, how it is God's word, I think that's something that has never been examined. So today, when we say God speak to us, we believe God speak to us through inspiration, right? So like you're driving down the street and you always go this one way to work. And then this one day you hear a voice say to you, it's going to be too much traffic that way. Take the back way. And you're like, nah, I don't want to take the back way. It's longer. This way is shorter. But you decide to take the back way and you find out like, oh, it was an accident that way. It was an hour delay. And then you're like, oh, snap, God spoke to me. That's how I believe God spoke. It wasn't like somebody coming to people and like, hey, thus saith thou, don't moveth down the street. If like, come on, bro. You know, so when I think of inspiration, I think of it as, you know, you may have wanted to go in a direction, but you've been inspired to do something else, right? Even when it comes to like the laws and how stuff is structured, you could tell like they're structured by some man's ideology, you know? It's structured based off of like what some man believes, you know, because in one point you can do one thing and then another point, that same thing that you used to do is not valid no more. So, yeah. You know, you have that ideology all throughout the text, right? You see that development. Like Passover, at first, you just did it in your house. Did somebody come back and edit it later? And they're like, well, you could do it in your house, but you got to do it this way. And then somebody else come back and edit it again. And it's like, psych, nah, you can't even do it in your house no more. You got to do it in a place where God says his name's going to be.
Right.
And then somebody else, then somebody else come back and say, hey, you know what that place name is? It's Jerusalem now. But it's like before when we were doing Passover, bro, it was everywhere. It was all in the north. Like you could do it in your home. You could come to temple, you know, and all these things are like politically driven. It's about money. You know what I mean? If Bethel temple cracking and I'm going to Bethel temple, what am I going to write in the book? I'm going to be like, yo, that temple got bad deities there. You don't want to go there. Why? Because the people taking all their money to Bethel.
Correct.
But see, the thing is that we're able to look at the text objectively and still hold our belief. Most people are not able to do that. They can't look at the text subjectively and still actually believe. So I get that question all the time. You know, it's like, how do you still believe the Bible? I said, because my belief is not shaped by the book. My belief is shaped by what I believe with the deity. It has nothing to do with the book. The book is some man's writing of ideas. So I take those ideas, I use them when I can, and when they don't make any logical sense, I don't. I heard something. I'm gonna stop here. I heard something, right? I was listening to this rabbi on YouTube, right? And he was talking about historical proof for the Exodus. And I could tell this guy was not learned because he pulled up the Meneptah Stele, and he said that the Israel and the Meneptah Stele was ancient Israel. And then he made a shot at Meneptah. Not Meneptah. I think it was Meneptah. It was Meneptah Stele. When he said, easy Israel's laid to waste, right? So he said, look, and he showed a picture of these Jewish children, and he was like, look, the Jewish children are still here, and where's Meneptah? Meneptah's in the ground. So it seems like the God of Israel won. And I felt that was poor scholarship because, of course, Meneptah's dead. This was 1200 BC. So he was going to be dead regardless, right? And then because what he took from the Meneptah Stele was the seed. It was talking about Abraham's children. And I'm like, yo, how do you, like, y'all develop all these theologies? That's not what that's Meneptah did not care. There was no Hebrew Bible when Meneptah was, taking over the territory. And that Israel is not the same Israel. But he made it seem like, oh, this was the Jewish people. And it's like at some point we got to come to the realization, like, okay, the Jewish people was established in 500 BC. Meneptah's 1200. That's a 700-year gap. Like, just simple math lets you know it's not talking about these same people. They're not the customs, traditions, and everything. But it's just
it's different,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like when I'm studying about our history and how they did things, from like the 15th century, from the from like the 7th century. They didn't have no rabbinical courts, They didn't have none of that. It's not only after, supposedly these Israelites came out of Babylon, and now we just have rabbinical courts, and now we're just supposed to accept it. Like, something must have happened, for that to, say like, okay, this is something from God. Because back then people were like so superstitious, they believe everything came from God.
That's true.
So like something had to happen, and like you said, the Israel from back then is not the Jewish people. You can't equate the two. The customs is all different. You see how the Jewish people, they have the yarmulke, the side curls. I'm reading that. I'm first of all, I don't see none of those traditions in the text. You know what I'm saying?
None. It doesn't exist.
Right. I don't see there was no such thing as synagogues, during the what was it, the Iron Age? Iron Age, late Bronze Age, heading into the Iron Age. There was no synagogues. Nobody was going into
synagogue is not even mentioned in the Bible. Nowhere. It doesn't exist. They're talking about these formulations of temples. So, but here's the thing though, right? And now because I'm the type of person that I can see from all sides of the map.
Well,
I can see from the bad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Synagogue is mentioned one time in the text, and that's in the Book of Psalms.
As far as like the synagogues we go to today, those synagogues.
No, it was mentioned. Right? No, it's mentioned one time, and I think it was like destroyed or something like that. That's the only time.
I see.
It's like a Moab, a meeting place. Let me look it up. Let me look it up, and I'll tell you.
Because I would like to look it up in the Hebrew. Because let me tell you. Listen, hold on, yo. Since I've been in Hebrew class and learning like to fully grasp and understand and take in the language, bro, a lot of stuff we read is agenda based. It doesn't like if you read it in its actual original Hebrew, you understood the euphemisms that take place. Rabbi, you're doing a great series on YouTube where you're exposing like when it's talking about the feet.
The feet,
like it's like, come lay at my feet. That doesn't even make any sense. Why wouldn't you lay at the top of the bed instead of the feet of the bed? Right. But it's a euphemism. It's a sexual euphemism. Right. So that's why you have these things that are listed that way, you know, but you can only see that from like the tradition in the Hebrew culture. Because when it comes to English, because the people translating produces the book as something being super holy, they remove it. They remove it from like the mentioning. Right. Could you imagine? And then it doesn't make sense. Right. Like Naomi's like, hey, listen, wait till he get drunk after he's out partying with his friends. And we're men. We all been to this position or know people in this position, right? When you drunk, you're inebriated, you don't have your right sense. Then it's like, oh, then go in there and lay down with him. And then, you know, he's gonna get up. And then when he wakes up, he's like, yo, what are you doing here? What's going on? You know, so then you kind of like realize that there's something else that's going on inside of the text that's not necessarily what it's producing, man. It's almost like extortion, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
She's extorting him. Like, look at the tradition of the time. What happens when this man comes out and they find out that he slept with this unwedded woman? He's a man of power and position, right? So he's kind of forced to marry her. But the text makes, you know, when they rewriting it, it makes you think like he's marrying her out of love.
Right.
It's like, no, he's going to lose his position if he don't marry her. Like, that's the custom of the day. He has to marry this woman. Right. So, and then you have it in, I think it's the Haggadah or the Mishnah where they ask, well, what happened to Boaz? And it's like, oh, he died. Like, it's like, if you notice, that's the theme of the book, right? Like, all these men are dying off. You know, the Elimelech and his sons, and so, but you can't understand that until you look at the Hebrew, man.
Right.
It speaks a whole different story from what we got in English, because it's, you know, the people who are translating this stuff all got agendas and stuff, man. So
the agendas are all throughout, you know what I'm saying, the English. Because I've always asked this question, like, if, you know what I'm saying, according to the narrative, if the Canaanites are so spooky and bad, you know what I'm saying, why are majority of the Israelites have Canaanite names? You have Israelites named Baal, you know what I'm saying? You have there's an Israelite name with the name Anat, you know what I'm saying? Another Canaanite goddess, you know what I'm saying?
So, she was on their spears when they went to war. That's a whole nother thing.
Right. So,
she's a warrior god. Go ahead.
Right. So if this is all spooky and bad and we can't say their names, why are these same people that saying not to do it are named after those, you know what I'm saying, deities? You have it's all throughout the text. Beth Shemesh. What does that mean? But some people is gonna think it's a place. You know what I'm saying? No, it just means house of the sun. They went to the house of the sun to go worship the sun.
Bingo.
It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And that was the thing of the day to do. You know what I'm saying?
Bethlehem. Where does Bethlehem come from? House of bread. Right. It's a grain deity.
Exactly.
It's like anyway,
and each of the cities
come into the text as.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's like a monotheist reading his monotheism into the text.
Right.
That's what's happening. Yep.
That's what's happening. Yep. You know, and it's difficult to say that, hey, put your monotheism away. Let's open the text. Let's travel to their time. And then look around, and no one is worshiping one deity.
No one. Have you found it? Have you found it in your studies? No, like it's crazy. But this is the thing too, right? How we know they're not worshiping one deity is because they were in fear. Most people don't understand. Like, when the Shema tells us to love Yud He Vav He, that's not like agape love. That's not like love your God. No, it's a command. Like, you're gonna love him or else. That's correct. We don't understand, but that's how ancient people view things. Like, even in their treaties and stuff like that, they're like, hey, you don't do what the deity say, he gonna take your food, He gonna have all these people come here. They're gonna take your land, right? We gonna wipe you off of the face of the earth, you know. And we think it's because of disobedience, because that's how we've been taught, right? So most of the Hebrew text is written in third masculine singular, like it's written in third person view. So how I take that is somebody's writing after the fact. It's not a first-hand author. So you don't have Abraham like, hey, listen, Sarah was tripping, so we went down to Egypt. Abraham's not saying none of this stuff. It's a retelling of a story, you know, that was passed down.
Exactly.
You know, and for me, how I look at it is, you know how Black people tell stories. By the time you got the story from the fourth person, all right, it's John Wick 3. When it started, it was Teletubbies. Like, you know, by the time you get the story, it's like, yo, listen, this man jumped off the roof and this happened. And you're like, oh, for real? And none of that happened. Like, none of that actually even happened. So I think because we are at a position where we're comfortable in our walk, we're able to have these discussions and it not be detrimental to our belief. Like, nothing can stop making me believe in Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the deity of the Hebrew people. Period. I don't care what they discover, right? Because my belief is, you know, sound. But I'm not going to lie to somebody and be like, you know, hey, yeah, they did part the Red Sea and Joshua went over here into Canaan and was killing up everybody and Israel had the block on lock. I'm not going to tell somebody that, because we know that's not true. Right, half of the cities that Joshua conquered didn't even exist in his time.
Right,
a lot of they wasn't even there. So
a lot of things that we've been told, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to like the whole Joshua and, you know what I'm saying, these narratives, they were written way after the fact that it happened. So they're just cultural memories. You know what I'm saying?
True. That's the key there.
Like, when it comes to oral tradition, it's something that's very big in African cultures, from what I see, and I just look at the Hebrew as the Bible, the book of the Israelites, as the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to like all these stories, you know what I'm saying, how am I gonna read it as one concrete story if certain passage or different books are saying this and then they're saying that? You know what I'm saying? They're all saying different things. Like, when I read in the book of Chronicles, apparently, you know what I'm saying, the Israelites, they never even went into Egypt. Ephraim had a daughter. I think it was in First Chronicles 7. Tells you that Ephraim had sons, and then they went into the land, and then they went to go attack the Philistines, and then the Philistines killed them. I'm just like, okay, wait, hold on. If we're gonna say that the Israelites went into Egypt during the time of, like, you know what I'm saying, the exit, like, you know what I'm saying, the time period when our ancestors went into Egypt, according to the narrative, what are the Philistines doing there? They didn't migrate.
They didn't exist.
They didn't migrate. I would have said they didn't exist. They didn't migrate to the Levant until, you know what I'm saying, they didn't migrate until the 12th century. So how are they getting attacked by the Philistines? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, my daughter asking for some cereal.
That's all good, man. It's all good.
But yeah, so yeah, what you're saying makes a ton of sense, because you know, but see, that's the thing. Like, when I first was able to transition from this thought process, it was a tough transition, because you believe this stuff, right? You believe like people, you know, parting seas and all this stuff. You believe these things, right? And then you come to find out that it's something a little bit different than what you are accustomed to or what you believe, right? So then I had to change like the process of thinking, you know, because when you're met with historical data, these people, the people that are doing historical analysis, they not thinking about how we think about the text. They don't care about the religious aspects of the text. Yeah. They only care about what actually happened.
Right.
You know?
Definitely. because like going back to the whole Israel and Egypt thing, when you read First Chronicles 7, it tells you that they were in the land. You know what I'm saying? So how are you in Egypt, but at the same time you're in the land at the same time? You know what I'm saying? And apparently you found cities in that land, but you're supposed to be in Egypt at the same. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, you know what I'm saying? According to the narrative, we left Egypt 600,000 deep, not counting the men, the women and children. You know what I'm saying? So if we left Egypt supposedly 1 million people, right? But then when it comes to the conquering the land of Canaan, and Yod-Heh-Wah is telling us, oh, don't go in and conquer the land at once, or else the animals will overtake you. How does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? How does that make sense? Because apparently you're 1,000 deep, but you can't take over the land at one shot because it's like because the animals will attack you and decrease your numbers. It just doesn't make sense. So it's just something that's political, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I'll go as far to say that, you know what I'm saying, David and Solomon, they were monolatrists. You know what I'm saying? I'll go as far to say that. They believed in, you know what I'm saying, they had a patron deity, but they also, you know what I'm saying, looked at other deities. I'll go as far to say that. You know what I'm saying? Because what the artifacts have, what they found on the ground, it matches up with that time period. So supposedly David, he had an Aramean wife as one of his in one of his harems, a Geshurite, if I remember clearly. And what they digged up from the ground from these people, this tribe, this Aramean tribe of the Geshurites, they found like a crescent moon with like a bull figure on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, so this is what they probably worshipped during that time period. It just is what it is.
Correct. You know, like I said, when David conquered Jerusalem, according to the narrative, there would have been a temple in Jerusalem. If it was indeed a Jebusite city, the Jebusites would have had their own deity that they are worshiping. So if he's from that territory, then it's not far-fetched to say that, well, David in his early age did not worship Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, because Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh had not entered Jerusalem yet. You know, right. He was still in the desert, you know, a young storm god. So right. What deity did David worship before Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is introduced in the south? So I mean, questions that you want to ask, you know? Right?
I mean, it had to be a lot, because, you know what I'm saying, of course you had El at the head of the pantheon, but you had, you know what I'm saying, Asheroth, you had Anat, you had you know what I'm saying, Baal Hadad, and all of these different Baals, you know what I'm saying, Baal Zaphon, the Lord of the North, all of these different deities. And at that time, it was normal to pay homage to these different deities, but you still can keep your own patron deity. You know what I'm saying? And it's normal. Like the earlier you read it, the earlier you read in the text, you see that the people were called El. You know, Samuel, Elkanah. You know what I'm saying? El is all over through the early text. Then when you go later into the text, you see Yah, this, Yah, that, Yah, this, Yah, that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something happened between those transition periods where they just merged the deities to make them one.
Correct. And then you come to the time of the judges, you see Baal, you know, Mephi Baal, all these names that has Baal assigned to them. So you see that people were comfortable. I think even Saul had a kid who had a theophoric name with Baal attached to it, right? You know, and nobody stops to say, "Hey, what's What's going on?
Right.
What's going on here?
It's
So, I mean, those are some of the things that we need to stop and comfortably ask. You know,
exactly.
it doesn't add up. Why doesn't it add up? And like Mr. Jason said, that doesn't mean that we're throwing our beliefs away and we are saying that burn the Bible. No, not at all. No, we're just critically thinking and critically asking questions that people shy away from asking, you know, and then giving answers with receipts, as in this thing keeps changing based on whose hand is on the text, what is happening, and we have to accept that. Now, the reason why the book is inspired in the ancient mind is because it changes. That is what inspiration means in the ancient Near East. It's valid as time goes on. For example, Mr. Jason mentioned this in class when we were talking about women, and he said women were seen as property. You go to the book of Exodus, and when the man's property is listed, his house is listed before his wife. Now you go to the book of Deuteronomy, somebody looks at it, it's like, nah, this doesn't look good.
Right.
So now the wife is listed before the house, even though she's still property. It's like, let's put it up a notch. You see, so we see the evolvement, and then you ask why. You will notice it if you don't pay attention to it, and you will think, and even when you notice it, you will think, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it does matter, because if she's listed second here and now she's on top of the man's estate, why was there a need to make those changes? Mr. Jason said, Passover. It's evolved so much. Now we don't even know what we're doing.
Yeah, like, and now it's about the cedar plate, you know, and it's like I was reading something that was fascinating. It was like, we have the cedar plate because Elijah, it's, you know, it's spiritual rebirth of Elijah and the Mashiach and all this. But I'm like, where did all this come from? Like, somebody developed this process, right? Because the early Passover was about the deity defeating who? The Egyptian deities.
Correct.
To show that the deity had more power.
Correct.
Exodus 12, period. Hey, I'm going to show the Pharaoh that I'm stronger than him. That's what Passover was about. Now it's like, oh, well, Passover mean we done developed 90,000 different versions of Passover. You can't eat this. You can't do that. You got to touch your toe 4 times. You got to wash your hands and sprinkle salt over the fire, spin 8 times. Like, where's all this stuff coming from? And it's coming from some man because it's not there in the text. It just doesn't exist. So I think that's where we start to have issues, you know, because like I'll get into conversations with people and they'll be like, do you keep Passover? I'm like, absolutely. Passover starts April 5th. I'm going to keep Passover, you know, and then they'll be like, well, what about Yom Kippur? And I'll be like, well, they made that up in Babylon. When they came back from Babylon, I said the 3 feasts that we're commanded to keep in the earlier text is Passover, first fruit, and Sukkot. That's it. Right. You know, so all these later things were stuff that, you know, were developed. Now, I'm not saying that you can't develop more ideas. Is it good to have Yom Kippur? Is it good to have Rosh Hashanah? Is it good to have these other things? Yes, absolutely it is. But don't tell me that God said I need to do these things. And that's why I have a problem. Because these are things that we developed out of our tradition. Now, the earlier stuff, I would say, would be something that in the ancient Israelite mindset would have been set by a deity, because that's how they believed. That's why I say I'll keep those 3, because of the belief process of the early establishers of the text.
Right.
That's different.
Even how they the whole dress code, you know what I'm saying? Like most people believe that, you know what I'm saying, the Jewish people today are the Israelites, and the way they dress, like the whole like the kippah and the curls and the black jackets and the black suits and all these hats and stuff. They think it's from back then, but when you look at the how the people from Canaan dressed like, you know what I'm saying, it's completely different. And that's why I wanted to ask the rabbi, like, the way the Israelites or the Canaanites, in this sense, based off what's seen on the walls of Egypt, they dress like, you know what I'm saying, the tribes in Ghana. You know what I'm saying? It looks like they're wearing the kente cloth. You know what I'm saying? Like I know which one. I know you guys know which picture I'm talking about. How
Yeah.
they depicted the Asiatics.
Yeah.
They have like they have, like, you know what I'm saying, these different colored clothing, and then one arm is like sleeveless and the other arm has like some type of sleeve. They dress like the people in Ghana. They look like, you know what I'm saying, an Awe they look like they're members of the Awe tribe, basically. And that's why I wanted to ask the rabbi, is there something from, you know what I'm saying, your tribe that keeps those memories from back then that we can know about? Because when it comes to proving who we are, when we're saying that we're the people of the book, you know what I'm saying, most people, they can't do it without the text. They can't do it without going to Deuteronomy 28. They would have to do it from a cultural standpoint. So that's why I wanted to ask you about that, Rabbi.
Yes, like I always say, to prove, I've come to a point. See, when I started coming on YouTube to do all these, my first approach was to take it from a traditional point of view, where you use the biblical text to prove that we are Hebrews, etc. Now, what I'm doing, I still hold to all that traditional information that I put out. I still hold to it. I don't deny it 100%. No, I hold to it 100%. Now, the conversation has evolved to historical fact. What can we prove historically? You know, not oral tradition, not all that other stuff. Can we close the biblical text and prove that we are Hebrews? That's why we started the We the North series. That, okay, let's first put ourselves in the land of Canaan. What do we know about that? We went to the Amanah letters. No, now with the Bible closed, we went to the Amanah letters. We saw that, okay, there was a petty kings there. We talked all about that. Now, when the Assyrians came in, we know there was what we would call the Exodus of my tribe. Our narrative is that when the north fell, that is when the Exodus, our Exodus from the land of Canaan to Egypt, to Ethiopia, crossing over Lake Chad, crossing the Benue River, and then migrating. That is when we migrated. Bear in mind, at that time, there is no Torah.
Right.
Okay. So that's why I said I cannot take the Torah to prove that my people are the people of the book, because there was no book then. So I would use, like you say, were we in Egypt? Yes, we say we were in Egypt. Okay. Which Exodus? Is it the Exodus that is narrated in the biblical text, where Hebrews left? No, that is not what we can say historically, because we didn't have 2 million people leave out of Egypt. No chance. We have, let's say, the Shasu, we have some Asiatics, we have people, a handful of people living out of Egypt. And one of the narratives from my tribe is that those few people who I would prove later to have been the Levites. So put me on record here. It was only the Levites that were in Egypt. The group that Levi means that to be attached, correct?
Yeah.
Their name will make sense when we start going down that route of the historical Exodus. Everyone else is in the land of Canaan, Canaanites.
Mhm.
You have only a small group, the Levites, leaving. Well, they were not called Levites then. Mr. Jason's looking at me like, what?
No, I get what you're saying. Moses, see, even the story starts with the Levites.
Correct.
Moses and his father, these guys are Levites. The story starts with them in
Yes.
Egypt. So,
Correct. So it's only the Levites, the Shasu living out of Egypt. Let me say that. Okay. So this small handful of people, my tribe has the narrative that when they were leaving out of Egypt, not 2 million people, just this handful of people, they also left and migrated to Ethiopia. The reason why we say that we were led by the priests, the Wulomor, those who were the all white, those who would become the Levites when they get into the north. So the attire that you're talking about, that you see on the walls, this is where the connection is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the narrative that we talk about. Two Exodus. One is when the Shasu left Egypt. Only them, not the whole Israel. Because now Manepta Stele will make sense. For an Israel already being in the land of Canaan, because they never left that land, they've always been there.
Yeah, the text tells you that.
Correct. They've always been there, they never left.
That's why Chronicles make sense.
Correct. A group left. Only the Levites, or only those who would become Levites. Okay. Out of that Levite, so we say Osofuejiwo, meaning that we are priests. Those are the people who could write, they could read. When they came in, they introduced Yud He Vav He to the north, and then it came to the south. They are the ones, the priestly text that we read, the Deuteronomistic writers,
Mm-hmm.
these guys dominate the book.
Right.
So yes, this is what our tradition, historically, this is the point of view that we come from. Two migrations. One is when the Shasu were kicked out. And then a part, according to our narrative, migrated to he came back. Okay. A group migrated to Ethiopia, and then from Ethiopia we went to Baal El Ghazal, and then we went up to Lake Chad, and then there's a river that when you cross, it's called the Benue River. When you cross it, you come to what is Nigeria now, is Lokoja, So that is where we make the connections with our Nigerian, the Yorubas, the Elves, and all of that. So historically, when we go backwards from our migrations, we go all the way to Egypt and then all the way to the land of Canaan. And I haven't opened any biblical text. I haven't quoted any scripture yet because the scripture wasn't there for me to quote in the first place when we were leaving. So this is, in a nutshell, the narrative that we hold. Now, when you come to the Hebrews in Africa, in Ghana, I'll talk about West Africa, the people who are the experts of the Kente clause that you're talking about are the Ewe people.
Mm-hmm.
When they make the Kente, you say, yeah, this this is a real work of art. And yes, the Ewe people were also in the land of Egypt. They also migrated there. So that's the narrative that we have. concerning the kente cloth. There is another kente cloth made by the Ashanti people, who you know as Ashantis. So you have about two different types of kente, if I'm not mistaken: the Ewe people and then the Ashanti people. Now, when you come to West Africa, there is a myth, a legend of how we learned how to weave the kente. You will hear that a hunter went into the bush and he observed a spider weaving its web, and then he paid attention, and then he came back, and then he built the loom, and then he did the weaving. That's legend. That is oral tradition, like Mr. Jason was saying. We know how oral tradition works. You put in some legends, you put in some stories to make it nice so people can remember, but yes, I believe the skill of making these clothings predates the oral tradition that we have about the spider web. It's coming all the way back. Like you said, the walls of Egypt testify to that.
Yeah, because they found old Israelite clothing from Egypt, and the old Israelite clothing look a lot like the kente cloths we wear today.
Yeah, that's what made me curious to ask the rabbi from what he learned from his tribe and what he had growing up from his tribe, because a lot what he's saying is definitely can be backed up by history. Because when you look at how the Elephantine papyri, right, when the Israelites were supposedly there during the 5th century, they worshipped, you know what I'm saying, not only Yod He Wah He, they worshipped other gods, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And there actually was a letter that was written to the high priest in the land saying
Right.
they need a blessing to build a temple in Egypt, and the high priest co-signed on that. So if we're gonna say the high priest is this holy, moral, Yod He Wah He only guy, you know what I'm saying, you would have to look at the Elephantine papyri, and you would have to ask, why is this high priest of the land co-signing to have a temple, number one, that's outside of Jerusalem, and number two, to these different deities? So that's why that narrative can be definitely supported by history, what the rabbi brought out.
But I know why. It's because the people in Elephantine were corrupt. So that's why the priest was able to allow them. This is how they'll spin it. That's how the priest was able to allow them to build the temple, because according to 1 Thessalonians 7:5, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
You see how this is how people spin this narrative. And it's like, no, take the book, close it, and then let's look at what actually happened in history.
Right.
And if history supports the book, then we can use that specific piece of the book.
Right.
Can't use everything. And I think that's a part of the issue, is that you can only use the parts that is supported by history, because you'll read stuff, right? And then it's like, in Joshua, Samson's fighting the Philistines, right?
In Joshua, you mean in Judges?
Judges. I mean, I'm sorry, Samson's fighting the Philistines, but it's are these people even in the land at the time of the Judges?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Like, you can make an argument for that. I would say they were in the land by the time of Samson. But if you're gonna say were they in the land by the time of Moses and Abraham, I would say hell no, because again they didn't migrate until they didn't get to the land until the 12th century BCE. So it's impossible for them to be in the land during the time of Abraham and during the time of Moses. Now, what these scholars would do, they would try to spin it. In some of these evangelicals, they will also spin it. They will say, see what happened was there was early settlements of you know what I'm saying, early forms of the sea peoples, and they was living in the land. Like they'll spin it. They'll spin it. But there's no Philistine king during the time of Abraham. It's just impossible for that to happen. Even even during the time of in Deuteronomy, when it says when we're supposed to celebrate the feast of the feast of first fruits, where you're supposed to give the priest the baskets of fruits and all of that. You would have to say that supposedly Moses is saying this, but the narrative is like this. Moses is saying to the Israelites that the Israelites have to say that that their father, which is Abraham or Jacob,
It's
whichever
an Aramean, right?
is an Aramean.
What?
There was no Arameans during the time of, during the time Abraham and Jacob was alive. So the early, based off of studies, based off what I researched and what most people came to research, is that the Amorites are an early form of the Arameans. The culture is the exact same. How they live are the exact same. The settlements where they lived in is the exact same.
Home
So even the
structures,
language,
everything, yo.
even the language is very similar. So I would go as far to say, like, yo, these people are just Amorites. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. But you tell somebody this, brother, what you mean? Brother, what you mean he's an Amorite? We're not no Amorite. Bring out Genesis 10. You know what I'm saying? And they'll go through the genealogies of,
Yeah.
like, saying Ham, Shem, and Jeff. I'm just like, yo, you would have to prove that these people exist.
Listen,
Correct.
I
That's the
showed
first step.
somebody who the Ashkenazis were, because guess what they didn't know? They did not know when Genesis 10 is talking about the Ashkenazi people, it is talking about a city in the Hittite land. They're not talking about Europeans, bro.
Right.
Like, I had to show them, like, I showed somebody on Facebook message. I was like, this is what it's talking about. It's not the book is written in the 7th century. It's going to be talking about 7th century placeholders.
Right.
These European Jews didn't exist at that time.
Right.
They wasn't. Then it's not talking about them. But that's what we like to use when it's like, oh, it Japheth. And no, that's not. That's not
Right.
the case, man. You can't do that.
I always ask brothers this. Okay, since you're going by that narrative, since saying we're supposedly the descendants of Shem and what have you, can you prove that they exist? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking into other cultures, other, supposed African cultures and cultures from, the so-called Middle East and all this stuff, and they don't know about, Shem and Ham and Japheth. They don't know about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I look at it as more of an allegory of the lands from which they came from. You know what I'm saying? Asia, because there was no Middle East. Asia was known as Shem. Then you have Africa, Ham. You know what I'm saying? These are all allegories of the land that these people came from.
Territorial placements, yeah.
Exactly. And I was reading that from a book, and I'm just like, this actually makes sense, because in the genealogies of Shem and Ham, there's both people. There's like identical, people with the same names, like Joktan and Sheba and Dedan. There's one in Shem's line, and then there's one in Ham's line. Like, okay, which one comes from which? Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But what that tells me is that those people from those lands, they intermarried and they mixed and they formed these people that we see today. You know what I'm saying?
They didn't have the ideology that we have, and I think that's part of the issue.
Right.
Like, because we grew up and were raised in such a radical racist society, we think that the ancient biblical text is full of radical racists, right? Like, oh, Shem is here and you can't be a part of this because of this. And it's like, no, that's not the case, bro. That's just it. They had no idea of race then.
Right.
The Bible is a book fighting classism.
Yes, it's culture. It's culture based. It's just. I look at it as Canaanites separating from the greater number of Canaanites to give themselves an identity.
Yeah, makes sense.
Going back to, like, the whole Genesis thing, that stuff wasn't even. You know what I'm saying? That stuff wasn't even around from the earlier days. The whole narrative basically started from, Abraham. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's
Right.
that in its originality. It started with Abraham. Well, over time, what they do is they link these genealogies together, and then they link Abraham to Shem, and this guy to him, and all this stuff. And
Mhm.
now
Right.
we can't deal with these people over there because they're not us. But at the same time, you're sharing the land with them. So,
Yeah.
like, what are you gonna do? And it's all throughout the text. Like, okay, if we're not supposed to deal with these people, why the hell are we marrying with these people? Why are we always stuck with these people? You know what I'm saying? In the narrative, Judah
Taking
hasn't
wives from them.
Judah
Judah.
hasn't
Love
came
them.
that wives. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it doesn't make sense. If we're supposed to be this holy seed, you know what I'm saying? Why are we taking the wives from these people? I just look at it as they're just different tribes that worship different gods, and we're not supposed to deal with them because they have a different patron deity. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
that it's normal for that time period, because even looking outside the history of the biblical text, when you look at Amorite history, and people are not gonna like me for I'm gonna say this. Yes, the Israelites' ancestors are the Amorites. It just is what it is. They could get mad. All they care, for all I care. All the traditions that the Amorites did is very similar to what the Israelites are doing in the narrative. So,
Mhm.
like, I forgot which Amorite king. He had a wife that was barren, and she couldn't give birth. So what she did was he took one of his slaves and had a child.
Yeah, I remember this one.
He had a child by her and fathered
Yeah.
children through her. You know what I'm saying? Oh, look, where did I hear this story before? Oh, Abraham and Sarah. You know what I'm saying? And all these political marriages in these Amorite territories, they didn't do it because, you know what I'm saying, we love each other. They just did it because it's to secure an alliance.
Alliance.
So,
Mhm.
like, when you look at the whole Isaac narrative, when Abraham is saying, "Oh, don't take these Canaanites as wives for my sons because they'll corrupt them," or something like that. Go to
Right.
like my family to marry to find a wife for
But
my.
think about how sick that is, though, right? Don't like imagine you telling your daughter or son, "Hey, listen, don't go marry any of these Hamites out here in the world. Go to your relatives." Your
You're
relatives, like,
worshiping idols.
yeah, your relatives, and they're worshiping idols. Think of it,
Right.
like he telling them to go back to the place God told you to leave to get me a wife from people who are worshiping idols that you supposedly running from.
Right.
Like, sometimes we don't think the process through. So when this woman comes, she's not coming worshiping Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. First of all, she could be my cousin, and second of all, she's coming in with her own set of deities. Like, it doesn't make sense. So another thing that's really funny to me, right? In the Because we don't think of this. Why is man born on the 6th day? Why did God rest on the 7th day? Right? In the Enuma Elish, on the 6th day, the gods created man because they got tired of working.
Right.
So they created man to work. They were tired. And then on the 7th day, they rested
Yep.
and put man to work. So in the original, like, this was fascinating because the structure of the Sabbath changed. In the original Sabbath, it doesn't give any instructions for man to rest on the Sabbath. None. It says what? And Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh of, that's a whole nother thing. That's a construct chain. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh of the gods, of gods, rested on the 7th day. Then when we get down into Exodus and we start getting into Deuteronomy, you start seeing the reason why you rest on the Sabbath. The first thing is because God rested on the Sabbath.
Right.
And then next is like, you rest on the Sabbath because what? I brought you out of Egypt. But in the beginning Sabbath, it wasn't including us. But we don't know these things because we don't study the history. We just look at the text. We take one piece of text and we believe, like, okay, this stuff is written over thousands of millennia. But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the text. It's like, oh, I could change this and make this evolve. Yes. Remember, we were supposed to kill our children if they are disrespectful. Somebody came along and said, nah, that's not good. I don't think that's a good idea. All right. Me and my son playing 2K. He beating me. He called me a bum. That's disrespect. We take him outside. We need to stone him to death. Right. That's the rule. But somebody came along and was like, nah, let's fix this. Like, this doesn't sound too right. But that should be the beauty of it, right? That's how it should continue to evolve, you know. But I don't.
And like you're saying, if the Shabbat is priestly concerns, it's a priest that is concerned with, you know, his position and all the benefits that come with it. So, like, you make a very good point. If my position, I always say that anybody can decide to come against my position. If my position is correct, because I hold to the fact that those who became Levites are the ones that came out of Egypt, then it would make sense for them to say, keep the Shabbat because you came out of Egypt. Why? Because he did.
Yeah.
His ancestors did.
Yeah.
Not all of you. And he's the one with the pen calling the shots. So he writes it in there.
Makes
so now
perfect sense.
Everybody takes it and says, oh, we all came out of Egypt, so we keep in the Shabbat.
Right. And even to add on to
that, you got to understand on the background that, you know, it's like Thanksgiving. It's not everybody who witnessed the, I don't know the history or whatever. It's not everybody who witnessed it or experienced it. It's not the whole nation, but now everybody
in the nation celebrated. Yeah,
correct. Same thing here. You know, it's like, hey, Shabbat came out of Egypt. We see how it evolved to now. You can't do anything. You cannot sit because the deity will be angry. And we know that's coming from the Babylonian angle, because from the Babylonian angle, you cannot light a fire because lighting the fire is the representation of the deity. So when we picked it up, we say you cannot cook, you cannot. Even though the Hebrew is difficult there, you cannot fire up fire on the Shabbat.
And even to add on to that, Rabbi, you know what I'm saying? When you're reading the narrative, it's always the same themes, you know what I'm saying? Levi's so great, Levi's so great, Judah's so great, Judah's so great, you know what I'm saying?
And the rest of y'all,
when you go to the northern tribes, they're just evil, they're wicked, you know what I'm saying? Every what you call it, northern kingdom king was wicked. But then you go to Judah, certain kings are righteous. So like, what's really going on here? They're gonna say that you know, Yod Hey Wild Hey, you know what I'm saying, was with this king and all. No, it's just something political. So
very political. It's
like I can't really say that all the Northern Kingdom kings were bad, because apparently when you look at the history, they were actually beloved by the people. So
Love
like
them.
So who's really telling the truth?
Love them. They didn't have issues in the territory. You see what I'm saying? Their issue came from the territory. So like, it's crazy, right? They tell the story of Ahaz, right? We know historically that the nations around Israel were forming an alliance. We know this because the Assyrians were pressing in. So we have the Battle of Karkar that happened, where Israel's the leading force that is fighting off the Assyrians, right? The Assyrians have this in the record, right?
Yeah, it's not mentioned in the Bible. The Battle of Karkar.
At all. One of Israel's greatest victory in battle, not mentioned at all, nowhere. They don't even speak of this battle, right? Why? Because it's not a part of the agenda. So I get it, right? So
to be in a stalemate with the Assyrians. Oh no, we're not gonna add that in there.
the Assyrians is the premier world power.
Right. Very
They're,
powerful.
they're spanking everybody on the scene. And then Israel's able to fight them off, right? Nowhere mentioned. So what happens is there is a way to get into the highlands of Israel by circumventing and coming in through Judah. So what does Judah do? Judah forms an alliance with the Syria.
With the Syrians.
Ahaz, he forms an alliance. They were so you got Israel and then Moab on the side. These guys are coming together. They're coming against Judah. They're trying to take over Judah's territory.
Right.
And it seems bad, but they're trying to take the territory and put a king in place so that the Assyrians don't come down and press and come in. See what I'm saying? It's a military strategy.
Right. And what does Ahaz what does Ahaz do? He snitches.
Hey, they coming this way, dog. Come over here and help us. Right? I thought we were brothers. I thought me and you were brothers, right? From Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But yo, check this out. In Chronicles, I love Chronicles. Chronicles says Ahaz did not know. It says the northern kings did not know that they were brothers with the south.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which verse?
I think it's chapter 2. It's chapter 21. I went over it in class when I spoke about it. I got it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I could pull. I think I got the PowerPoint. I think it's like First Chronicles 16 or something like that, where they like the text is saying like the North did this to Judah, not knowing that they're brothers. Like what?
Right.
Because in First Kings, we know they're brothers, right? They separated from Solomon.
Right. According to the narrative.
According to the narrative, right?
In history, they were originally two separate kingdoms.
Two separate kingdoms, yeah. But see, this is the thing, though. So when I read and I see these things, it's like, okay, I understand it because that's how they wrote. Israel's not the only one writing that they're brother and sister nations with a nation that's not their own. Like it happens all over the place. The Egyptians did it as well. It's all. But see, the thing is, because we have experiences outside of the text, we know that all these guys are writing like this. Like we think like the biblical text is like some special book, and it is special to Hebrew people. But on the world stage at the time in which it's placed, it's very common, bro. It's just very common.
Yeah,
so.
it's very common. Even I'm even reading the Amarna letters, and the kings,
them joints fire.
The kings, they addressed each other as my brother. You know what I'm saying? So who's to say that? Why can't we keep the same energy with the whole Judah and Israel thing? Because
makes sense.
They were never really one people. To be honest,
an alliance. Yeah,
it's just more like, you know what I'm saying, one became a vassal to the other. The text will tell you Judah made the whole northern tribes the vassal. You go to the history, it's the other way around.
Yeah, right. Little old Judah. Judah was a fifth the size of Israel. Right. But Judah is making Israel, who we know from his history. Forget the Bible. Close it. From history, who is the dominant force in the region in history. We know this. They're attested to by other dominant forces. Judah is not.
It just is what it is.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? But the book makes it seem like, you know, like Judah's this big dog on campus. No, they're not.
Because even when you look at when the Pharaoh Shishak, when he went to conquer, he went to go conquer the northern territories. He didn't go to Judah.
Nope. Mm-mm. But that rabbi, hold on, the rabbi that I was looking at on YouTube, he was saying that I forgot his name. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to him at all. That's not my game. My game is truth. So I understand where he's coming from a religious perspective. He was like, yeah, you know, and the ancient Israelites are attested to because of Shishak. And then he starts talking about Judah and Israel together. And I'm like, Shishak didn't campaign in Judah.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mention on that wall anything about Judah. Period.
All northern territory.
All northern territories. Like, It doesn't mention Judah. It doesn't say Lachish.
I think the problem is coming from people, the United Monarchy myth.
Yeah.
So when you see Israel, you think it's the whole thing, and I say, no, let's separate it. Northern Kingdom, Manepta Stele, was it talking about the whole of Israel or was it talking about the Northern Kingdom?
The Northern Kingdom.
Because, correct.
The Bible separates
You
it.
never had that.
Right.
King in the book of Kings, why does it says Israel and Judah?
Judah,
Why
right.
don't it just say Israel?
Israel, right.
Correct.
Even
Chronicles the
separates
same way. Like it doesn't the book itself don't put them in the same category. So you could tell like this is like later revisionist histories coming back, like, oh, you know how it is. Like you have a little cousin, y'all having a conversation, they want to include themselves in the conversation. The conversation ain't got nothing to do with them. That's pretty much what it's like. Like Judah's like the little cousin, and they're trying to include themselves in the conversation, but they're not really a part of the conversation. And most people would take that as disrespect. It's not disrespectful. It is what it is. And I think we have to get to a point where we just accept what is the truth and not think that somebody, because sometimes I think like with our mind state, especially here in the States with a lot of African Americans, we're so traumatized. We think everybody's out to get us, right? Or everybody's trying to steal something from us, right? So I understand that psyche, but there are some places where history is just history.
Right.
All right. Barry Bonds is the home run leader. That's history. I don't care what you say. Like last year in baseball, they was like, oh, Aaron Judge did this miraculous thing. He had 62 home runs in an American League. So that is a record. And people are excited about that. Why? Because they're trying to erase Barry Bonds because of the steroid stuff. But the reality is he had 62. Barry Bonds had over 70, bro. Like Barry Bonds is still the home run leader.
Right.
But that's what we try to do. We'll try to latch on to a story to kind of change the overall narrative when the reality is the overall narrative is still there. Like Israel was the kingdom. Judah was a vassal. We know this historically. All the stuff that it says Solomon did, we know who the king is. It's Jeroboam II. He fortified Lachish. He fortified these. He had stables of horses that went out amongst the war. We know who that was. We know that Megiddo was a stronghold for horse building.
Right.
He was trading with Egypt. We know this for a fact. We even have bullias from Jeroboam where it has like Egyptian deities and stuff on them. Like
but if you let
all these guys. It's like you think these like, they're holy to us now because it's the after effect. You know what I mean? But it's like this is how they operate during their day.
Right. It's normal. It's nothing.
It's
There's
normal.
nothing wrong with it. So that's why it's good to have these conversations because it makes us see the reality for what it is. See, I'm okay with Israel being originally two separate kingdoms and two separate people from Judah, and then they, it wasn't until the Assyrians got too powerful that the survivors of the north went to the south, and gave the south their technology, and then Judah became, powerful during that after the northern kingdom fell. I understand the whole, after studying history, I understand the whole narrative behind these texts, and to say that I'm a heretic, to say that I'm a bug out or I'm gonna go to slavery or all this stuff, like it's
it's wild. It is mind-blowing the stuff people say to me, man. And I'm like, you can't possibly believe this. Like, please tell me you don't believe this. It's not a knock against them.
They say you're a Canaanite, you're a Canaanite. Like, me personally, now I don't even look at that as a bad thing now, because if I'm gonna say that I'm an Israelite, where were my ancestors living? Because
guess what? Muhammad Bello says that.
right, because where the whole land was never called Israel.
Never.
So the land was sectioned off by different tribes. You had the Moabites in this area, the Ammonites in this area. You had the Phoenicians to the north. You had Judah to the south. You know what I'm saying? You had Edom in the desert. So all that landmass stemming from Phoenicia from the top to Edom in the bottom, all of that land is called Canaan. It's just, you know what I'm saying, the land was sectioned off by these different tribes. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna call me a Canaanite, that's what my ancestry goes back to, because they were inhabitants of the land of Canaan. It just is what it is. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a smear campaign. You know what it is? Right. You know, people like try to smear you. It's like, you Otis's son. You know what I mean? Right. Instead of you just being one of the children of the family, you know, you got a different dad, and they like, oh, you Otis boy. Like right. No, like, we're family. It doesn't matter who boy I am. But that's kind of what it's like when it's like, oh, you're a Canaanite. I'm an Israelite. No. You're all your tradition. See, most people don't know that the feasts were already happening. Exactly. You could write about an Exodus feast because the Exodus feast was already occurring in the land. And something you guys touched on earlier, I want to get to. I think Rabbi mentioned this earlier about the fire in the Sabbath and how, you know, you don't light it on the Sabbath because it was something with the deity and everything like that, right? We have that story too in Numbers. Why do we wear tzitzits?
To remember the law?
No, it's because old boy was chopping wood to light a fire on the Sabbath. And Moses and the congregation didn't know what to do with him. So they went to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh said, smoke him. Stone him. And they stoned him. And then the very next verse says, your deity commands that you now wear tzitzits on the four corners of your garment so that you remember. So the whole idea of us wearing tzitzits come from the fact that it was a violation of the Sabbath. Somebody violated the Sabbath with fire.
I mean, according to the narrative, but you look at the Canaanites, they also had tzitzits.
Yeah, true.
You look at they call it a kilt in today's terms. And if you look on the walls of Egypt, you know what I'm saying, it shows
they all had them.
They had like the strings hanging off of like this quote unquote kilt or skirt or what have you. So, you know, it's just that's what the Israelites are. They're just a branch off of the Canaanites. Even everything down to how, you know what I'm saying, these altars are built, the temples are built, it's the same as the Canaanites, you know?
The structures
I always ask, brothers, okay, why are there 4 horns on the altar of the Israelites? Because the Canaanites also had 4 horns on their altar too. No, it's because Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh says the Most High said to build it this way. I'm like, no, the Canaanites also had it this way.
Exact same way.
And I asked them, okay, what about the whole Ark of the Covenant? Did you know that the Ark of the Covenant did not originate with us? It actually originated with the Egyptians because they have their own Ark of the Covenant. And then they just was like, oh, it's different because the Most High said to me. I'm like, no. If you want to sit there and put the Most High into it, that's fine. But you would have to deal with the fact that the Egyptians have the Ark of the Covenant way before there was even a people such thing called Israel. You know what I'm saying? And it just is what it is. We borrowed certain things from neighbors and we influence certain things from our neighbors. It just is what it is.
I think we took set apart the wrong way. People think set apart means everything we have is originality. Right. That's the difference. Set apart and originality are 2 different words. The text doesn't say you're original.
Yeah, now it gets you know what I'm saying? People think now that they're reading this text, now that we're I mentioned earlier, they like to attach themselves to the Israelite identity because the way it's written and how we're the chosen of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh or God or what have you, and we're like, you know, the special people special, strong, and very memorable to the most. I was just like, no, it's just somebody wrote it this way. You know what I'm saying? And now it just is what it is. We're writing it this way because we believe that we're superior to everybody because we have this deity. But people take it in that context and say, okay, we made everything. We made this, we made that, we made this, we taught them that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's not how it is. It didn't go down that way. We didn't originate every, you know what I'm saying, every single thing. Things were borrowed and we influenced. It's just how the world works. You even see it today, you know?
But that's how they operated in the ancient world. I don't know why we need to be special.
Right.
Like, I just don't understand, you know, and people will say, and this is the thing that I don't like. Well, the Israelites are still here and everybody else is gone. No, they're not.
Yeah.
The Egyptians still exist.
Mm-hmm.
The Assyrians still exist. They will tell you. Go ask them. Be like, hey, are you Iranian? They'll be like, no, I'm Assyrian.
Right.
I'm like, what do you mean Assyrian? They're like, no, like, you know, the ancient people, like, our ancestors come from them. We're Assyrians. But but they're just not like radicals. They just, you know, they're still Assyrians. They're still Babylonians. Like, they're still here. These people know their origins and stuff like that, where they come from. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's just that we're just radicalized when it comes to us. We think like we're the only ones still here, and it's not the case.
Exactly. And when it comes to the Assyrians, they still have, like, you know what I'm saying, their cultural celebrations, where I don't know if
it's
you
true.
I don't know if
they still had the Akitum festival and everything like
that.
Right.
They dress up in like how the Assyrians dress up long ago, and they have like fashion shows and all this stuff, and like you know, they having a blast, you know what I'm saying? Now they like, it's only here in the West where we're forced to think of, you know what I'm saying, this whole black and white, you know what I'm saying, color code nonsense. You go out east, you're not thinking about that. They're thinking about their tribal
heritage.
You know, somebody could be as dark as, you know, midnight, and they'll say, okay, yeah, this person, yeah, he's a part of us, and this person look a certain a different kind of way. You know, it just is what it is. It's not because, you know what I'm saying, the whole thing I like about the East, because I've been to Ethiopia before. They don't just think of, you know what I'm saying, a whole black and white thing. They just look at me and they say, "Oh, you're American," you know. You're they look at you, they say, "Oh, you're part of the diaspora," you know. But it's only here where we're forced to look into, like, you know, color coding and superiority, and, you know what I'm saying, this, that, and the third. Because you even have this situation going on today, you know, where the Caribbean blacks and the American blacks, they don't get along, and then you have the African blacks, they don't get, you know what I'm saying, everybody's going at it with each other, and it's just like, oh my God, bro, like,
let it go.
No such thing as superiority when it comes to people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. It's just,
but we have to make ourselves feel good, right? How do you make yourself feel good? When you are a person who honestly, internally, I believe, is not satisfied with who you are, and I would consider to be weak, you have to make yourself strong by making other people weak, right? Like I have to make myself strong by saying, you're the imposter, I'm the real one. All right? Because Deuteronomy 28:68 says, right? So that means you're fake, I'm real. But when you read the text, it's in the hit payel stem, which means it's something that you do to yourself.
Right.
You will sell yourselves.
Right. Yeah. And
like, we didn't sell ourselves into, like, we wasn't over here selling ourselves. That's not how this works, right? But it's because I need to make myself feel better by making you feel bad. And I think that's a sad, like, state to be in, because we should be able to discuss the text, discuss our beliefs, walk away from the conversation, learning something from a different person, and I learn from this angle, and it just makes me a stronger person.
Right. But people are going by today, ethnic superiority and racial superiority, well, because of these texts that we were told, are real. And I'm not saying none of it is real, because you go to the whole like when you look at the Canaanites, they practice magic. I'm not saying they were the only ones that practice magic, but they practice magic and divination. And I know a lot of that is going on in West Africa, and where my parents' country, where they're from Haiti. They also do those type of things. Now, where did these things originate from? I mean, this further can prove that we are the people of the book, because you look at what they did in Canaan. They did divination. They have
Heavy.
you know what I'm saying? They have cult. They have cult. A cult. What you call it? A cult. Something with like the bones. You know what I'm saying? And I know certain places in the Caribbean, they do those things.
I know voodoo priests in Louisiana that still practices divination with bones.
They still do all of those things. And you know what I'm saying? We were told that it's a bad thing because of the text. You know what I'm saying? But this is what our ancestors originally did, because this further can prove. This is how I can prove, you know what I'm saying, that we are, you know what I'm saying, descendants of Israel, living in the land of Canaan, because of these practices that were, brought over from Africa and carried over to the Caribbean. When you look at the festivals and how the women dress, they dress similarly. I never understood the whole meaning, but it wasn't until I actually studied the text, the biblical text, and the history. They are dressing like the goddess Asherah. You know what I'm saying? With the whole feathers and all that stuff. They're just doing those same practices. It's just like, in a more modernized form, to where people don't recognize it. And I'm like, me, I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, would I do it? Me personally, I wouldn't, but this is what always, And
but nobody talks about Saul goes to the witch of Endor because Samuel is not there. And the witch gets everything accurate. Like whatever she said happened to the T. Same information maybe he would have gotten from Samuel if Samuel was there. So how is it that she got it so accurate? Like
perfect.
100%.
And she's supposed to be bad.
Is this somebody coming later and saying that, hey, this is bad because now we're monotheists? Now you cannot go to seek, go to a seer, or because she's Canaanite? I mean, why do we now vilify an act that clearly was on point, 100%? Everything that she said happened.
Right.
Where is she getting the data from? Well, somebody would say she's getting it from Satan. When did Satan start knowing the future? It's like, so we see these practices that we can use to say that, see, we are the people of the book, but then we're saying that, hey, it's evil.
Right.
Can't be both.
Correct. Are these practices that we did? And now, like you said, the casting of lots. We've been told that is what? Stones? But we know they're bones. They're two little bones that the priest had. Are we cleaning it up so that it doesn't look so
black?
Okay. So black, so evil. I mean, it is what it is. the custom. This is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
See?
You know, we
But yeah.
dance in the spirits, right? Doom, and then they say that's evil, but then we come over here and we fall out in the spirit of the Holy Ghost.
Right. And David is dancing because
Listen,
he's possessed
he's
by.
possessed. You know, if I'm dancing in the African spirituality, and I'm like, "Yay, shadaboda," that's evil. But if I go right
and
to
I
a
have
church
clothes
here,
on.
yeah, if I go to a church, now I'm speaking in tongues. It's like whatever you deem is vilification is what becomes vilification. But most people can't see that. Like, you've deemed this bad. That's why we call it bad, because you deemed this bad. It's not inherently bad. I don't like a lot of. That's what I tell people. Like, good and evil is relative to the person that's deeming it. Prime example. They would. So, for example, right? They vilify marijuana. It was bad. You can't do it. Now, all of a sudden, they like, well, the medical purposes says, oh, it works here. It does this. It'll help with this. It'll help with that. Now, guess what? Marijuana has been helping with that all these years, right? It's been doing it. I'm not saying smoke or anything. I'm just trying to tell you how, like,
right, how people shift.
Yeah, like
I remember growing up, it was a bad thing, but now it's like, you know, it's cool. You know, now everybody's puffing and smoking in the streets right in front of the cops. And,
man, it's,
you know,
but it's whatever we deem, man. And it's us. It's not God. It's us. We're setting these rules in place. We decide we don't like something, it's bad. You know? The moment we decide it, that's how it happens.
Right.
You know? Rabbi messaged me. I think his internet went out.
Man, I would love to continue this conversation too, man, because I gotta get going too, man.
Yeah.
Gotta get going. Gotta get headed to work right now. But man, I hope Rabbi keeps on keep this going, bro, because you know this stuff is definitely needed, you know.
Yep, it definitely is.
It's definitely
needed. And then, you know, once you start talking about, you know, specific topics, you know, we can bring stuff to the table and everything like that. But this is definitely needed. So yeah, this is good speaking, good saying. You know what I mean? We normally are not on camera, so. Right. But yeah, I think this is this been good.
Definitely. I just wish, you know, more people would see it that way, but you know, they're stuck in their dogma.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to escape it because they're afraid what happens on the other side. You know, a lot of people are really still afraid. They rather believe what they believe because, you know, and I had somebody say this to me, I'd rather believe that it's true and it not be true than believe that it's not true and it is true. Right. And it's also, it's like, but that comes with the assumption that you're going to have the same emotions, mindset, and understanding that you do on this side. It could change. Do we know? We don't know, because nobody's never come back to tell us.
Exactly.
I'm talking about an actual dead person, not somebody dying on the table for 8 seconds and coming. I'm talking about like somebody who's been dead 20 years, revives all of a something and be like, hey, listen, let me tell y'all, like, yo, this is
right. Nobody. Me personally, I haven't met a dead person that came back and told me, you know what I'm saying, how it is on the other side, or you know, what is true and what's not true. That's something that we are eventually gonna find out once we're not, you know what I'm saying, off this existence, this plane of existence, you know what I'm saying? And this obviously, I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a God, because I believe in, obviously.
Yeah, me too. That's not what I'm. Yeah,
right. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody had to put all of this together. A brilliant, intelligent, you know, being. I know it's only capable of that. You know what I'm saying? So if my ancestors are telling me, based off of what we read, you know what I'm saying, and X, Y, and Z is gonna happen to us, I'm gonna stick with that. But am I gonna sit there and say everything that they say is true? No, because the person that wrote it is human. You know what I'm saying? Like we come from Shem. Like you, it's very hard to prove that because last time I checked, there was that land was always there. You know what I'm saying? You had the Natufians. You know what I'm saying? And the Natufians came out of the Canaanites, and then out of the Canaanites came out the Israelites. So, you know, it's just there in the history. It's just that majority of our people they're not really interested in that. They're just interested in what caters to their feelings and what they've been through. Definitely, what we've been through as so-called Black people is definitely traumatic. It definitely can build up, you know what I'm saying, some type of resentment because of how we treat it. I get it. It's there. But am I saying should we forget it? No, that's not what I'm saying. But we should look forward towards what's to come instead of harping on the differences. You know what I'm saying? You're this person, I can't deal with you. You know what I'm saying? And it's very that way of thinking is very detrimental, man.
Yeah, it really is. I'm happy that we're on this other side of the view. Like we're able to still hold to what we believe in, still be able to objectively accept things that we see that comes to us as truth. You know, we're able to do that. Be like, okay, yeah, I believe that. You know, oh, they found out this. Okay, let's look at this. Let's research this a little bit more. You know, and look into it and stuff like that. So I'm definitely all for it. But like you said, it's tough because it's hard trying to explain certain things to people when they have a set mindset and they don't actually want to see the other side of stuff.
Right.
So, but yeah.
And look, this thing is my passion. Just because I don't believe certain things that happen, that doesn't mean that I can't still have a passion for it.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
the biblical text. I love the narratives.
Love it.
I love the nuggets that's in there that you and I both understand, but certain people don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's there for me because I look at it as number one as a moral guide, not necessarily a historical guide, but a moral guide. How we should be conducting with each other and how we deal with other people. And second of all, I see it as what I'm saying, certain things that explain certain mysteries that we don't emphatically know 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to the numbers in the text, the numbers that they give, I don't take it literal. Might be a certain meaning behind it that we today don't really know what it means.
Understand? That's true.
Understand because our ancestors are long gone, and the meaning may have been lost over time, or distorted or changed. And one thing I found out about when I'm researching Islam, right? I always heard Muslims say that your Bible is corrupt, this and that and the third. And what's the most common reaction from someone debating a Muslim about that statement? Somebody will get upset, defensive, but when you actually study that fact that it's corrupt, you can't really get mad at them because they're saying the truth, and it's like it just is what it is. It just is
and that's the thing. Like it's okay for, like I said, for me, stuff is like all relative, right? So like, yeah, it's corrupt, but there's not a book that's not corrupt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's there too. I think it's Surah 4, 122. I forgot which verse it is, but like it's Surah. In one Surah, it's saying, be kind, be nice to these people, and then in the next one, it's like, take vengeance upon them. You know what I mean? So it's like, is it this or is it that? Like all of these books come with forms of corruption because they're made at the hands of man, and it's man trying to navigate life.
Right.
in respect to what their belief is about the deity. That's what it is. You're just trying to navigate life, man. These guys are just trying to navigate life. So I look at it as like, how did man die? Why do we die? Oh, this is why we die. And then we tell the story of Adam and Eve.
Right.
I'm not saying it like it's the truth. I'm saying like it's a story. Well, the story is this is what happened. We ate. We wasn't supposed to eat. Hence, death is upon us. Right. The problem that we started to have was when people was like, "Oh, Adam and Eve's real. They really did this," and it's like, no, it's allegorical.
Right.
Like, and then they started tying mad stuff into it. Well, the thing in the garden, the snake was Satan, and I'm like, it's not even a snake, bro. It's a seraphim. Like it's like it's not this Nahash. It's not the same thing as Hasatan. They're totally two different entities, totally two different understandings in the Hebrew thought.
Yeah,
You know,
anybody can be Hashatan.
Anybody.
Human,
yeah.
You know?
I think it occurs, Hasatan occurs 22 times in the text. Only twice is it a being.
Right.
Three times.
It literally tells you in the text that the whole story with Balaam, or however you say his name. It literally says in the Hebrew that the angel was a Satan for
Well, yep. For Yudevave. It says, and Yudevave sent Hasatan. But it's like, oh no, he couldn't. No, yes, he's a worker. In ancient thought, these are the pantheonic deities that work for the pantheon deity.
Right.
It makes perfect sense to me, you know. So
this is what it is, you know.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But yeah, this has been a good talk, and I'm looking forward to next Sunday when we start going into some topics and building a little bit more.
Definitely.
So I think it'll be good. But yeah, guess we're gonna end it here.
Yeah, I gotta get going.
You gotta get ready for work. Yeah, me too.
I could go all day, you know what I'm saying?
Me
but,
too.
You know,
me too. It's so much to talk about, man.
And bills and all this stuff.
Yeah, in life, So I'm about to head myself to the store. My wife wants me to cook dinner tonight, so I think I'm about to throw some stuff on the grill, man. Get it going. But yeah, it's been great. YouTube out there, have a great day. Any questions, just leave them under the comments of the video for Rabbi. And maybe we could try to answer them throughout the week, see if how Rabbi is and if he's busy or not. But yeah, we can definitely get into it, man. Y'all have a great one. Have a great one.
Shalom.
Shalom.